Hi, it's Amy with the Hag Reads. I am here with my day 2 vlog for BookTube-A-Thon. I am not following the prompts in any specific order. I'm actually choosing the books that I think are going to be the hardest or take the longest to complete, except for the first day because I did the 2 easiest books. I have one teen book left, Shutter, which I'm kind of saving towards the end because I know that I can read that in a day or less. And I'm also saving the Agatha Christie book, which is adult, but those read pretty quick. So I have still 2 books in my pile that I know I can probably read both of those inside of a 24-hour period. So I'm kind of saving those for Friday into Saturday as my backup plan if I haven't managed to accomplish all that I hope to. I was up all night last night. Damn that insomnia. But that's okay. It's not a complaint. It's just what my sleep schedule is like right now. I can do the work I need to do no matter what time of day it is. It's just not as convenient. I prefer to work while my son is at work, just because some of the things I do are a little bit noisy, so I can't do those right now while my major portion of time is being awake in the middle of the night. And because we have a next door neighbor who doesn't like us very much, and no matter how little noise we make, he always seems to have a complaint about us. So, and we really are fairly quiet. I don't know that he's ever lived in an apartment before. He seems kind of snotty and sheltered, but he's older. He's got to be in his mid-30s, so I'm not sure what the deal is with him, but he does not like us at all. But he's our 3rd neighbor there, and both of the neighbors before him had children, and so these are all 1-bedroom, 1-story apartments. The guy that lived here when we moved in acquired a girlfriend, and he had 2 little boys. And his girlfriend had a small, less than a year-old child. And children are just noisy. They made a lot of noise, but then after they left, they got a bigger apartment because they obviously needed it. After he moved out, and they were wonderful neighbors. They were very chatty, friendly, and I never complained about them because children are just noisy. That's how life is. You live with, when you live in an apartment, you have to expect that people are going to be fairly noisy, and these are not well insulated. I've discussed that before on this channel. These were, I don't feel, ever meant to be lived in year-round. I think that back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, that these were for snowbirds who came in. They were possibly rentals, or maybe they were owned for people who just lived here in the winter or who came for a couple of months. I don't have any proof of this, but that's my firm belief, is that nobody lived in these year-round when they were built. I cannot believe that anybody ever intended for these to be year-round dwellings based on the architecture and the amount of insulation or lack thereof in them. After he moved out, a woman in her early 20s moved in, and she had 2 children, and they were extremely noisy. And once again, I never did complain about them, but the baby and the small girl slept on this wall right here, and this is I think it's a 2-deep cinder block wall, and if he's sitting over there talking on the phone, I can hear him. So imagine how clearly, and this is where my bed used to be also, how clearly I could hear that child screaming all night long while the woman slammed in and out of her bedroom trying to get it to be quiet, and that's being extremely kind. Nothing ever... I didn't care for her at all. She was not a very nice person. She seemed to be more focused on partying and having fun than on taking care of her children. But she was very young, and the little girl once blurted out to me that her father was in jail. So I think that, and her family would come every now and then, but they didn't seem to have a very good relationship. I felt bad for her, and I felt very bad for the children. I think she just wasn't mature enough, and that happens a lot. I was a young mother. My older two children I had way younger than I should have, but my mom made me be a good mother. I wasn't allowed to do what went on over here. And children are just loud in general, so even if they hadn't been crying all night, they would have been noisy. Like I said, I don't think the guy next door has any clue what it's really like to live in an apartment and how loud your neighbors can be, because outside of that apartment, and there is one straight across from this one, there are 3 units on this side and 3 units on that side. There are only 6 units in this complex. And the one straight across, the lady has a kid, and when everybody's opened up, when it's not hotter than Hades out here, I can hear her kid too, but that's children. And as far as I know, he's on good terms with her, but he does not open up his house very often. We are open all the time, and comparatively speaking, we are very, very, very quiet, even though we do make noise. My son games, and during the day he turns the volume on, which I don't have a problem with. And in all of his complaints, I know I'm rambling on here, he doesn't seem to know or consider that we can also hear him. I can hear his microwave go off and it's in the kitchen. It's not even in the room that adjoins our apartment. I can hear his TV when he's watching it. I can hear him when he's talking on the phone. I can't hear the specific words, but I know that he's on the phone because you can hear, from the cadence and the way the conversation goes. I can hear when he brings home strange men from the bar and has sex with them in the living room in the middle of the night. But I still have never made a complaint about him to the management. As far as I know, he hasn't complained to the management about us, but he complains to us frequently. And quite honestly, my son is often in bed shortly after 10, although there are exceptions, and there was a period of time where I wasn't paying attention, and for a couple of nights, my son played games with the volume on after 10 o'clock at night, and normally I don't allow that. He has to switch to headphones, and he can't play anything where he's talking to other people because he doesn't have any volume control. He puts the headphones on and then he just starts yelling into the mic, not realizing how loud he is, no matter how many times I tell him. But I don't allow that to go. I've been fairly conscious of that simply because I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that, although we have been from him and he does not seem to know it. So I don't do a lot of things in the middle of the night that I would normally be inclined to, because I also don't think he's heard of white noise. Like, I don't think he has a fan or has ever considered turning on a radio or playing music, playing like nature sounds or, relaxing meditation type music, which is what my son does to block out the noise from his bedroom. So I just feel like he has unrealistic expectations about how loud people are. And I also don't know if he complains about the woman on the other side. She's 82 and she's up all night. I know she is. I can see her lights on if I go outside. And I can't imagine she's terribly quiet because she's a little bit hard of hearing. So I don't know if he complains about her or if we just hit it off with him. For some reason, we got off on the wrong foot. But I've never been able to make nice with him. And I don't care to. We live in Phoenix, in the central Phoenix area. In South Scottsdale. It's kind of all one big conglomerate area. It's the desert. There is a central quad between the apartments. And there used to be a pool out there before we moved in, and it's been filled in. But it's supposed to be xeriscape, but some grass has managed to crop up, and the management company here, the gardeners they hired, don't seem to care to pull it up or tarp it over or fill it in with rock any further than it is. The management company does very little in the way of repairs inside or outside here, so it has managed to cover maybe a third of the area out there. Well, he moved in and he started watering it in the middle of the day in the middle of the summer. He moved in last year. And both I and the neighbor in the first unit, well, she didn't kindly ask him. She ranted at him because that's her nature. But I suggested that that wasn't the best time of day. And he also fiddled with the sprinklers and tried to get those on. I guess at some point there was a passive water system where it would drip the roots of the trees in the area. But they have shut that off, and pretty much everybody in the complex told him that the management company didn't want it watered. Well, he didn't go to the management company. He managed to contact the owner and got permission to water. He stopped watering in the middle of the day because that was, but my other complaint was we live in the desert in drought conditions and you're watering grass that is, no, grass does not grow in the desert. At least not in areas that are as dry as this. This area would not naturally have grass. Our water is, comes from the Hoover Dam, I'm pretty sure. So my complaints are, why are you watering a lawn that nobody here wants? We all have our own backyards. And ours, we don't have, we have some weeds, but we don't have grass. And we're going to cover that with AstroTurf come the fall. And we grow a few vegetables back there, but we don't plant anything that needs tons and tons of water. Again, because we live in the desert and it's fucking drought conditions. Now he's taken to watering in the middle of the night, and he's using a hose that he's strung from the other side of the building, because the other complaint was he would invariably water the minute we got in the shower, because we have a spigot right outside our apartment, and the middle one doesn't, and then the one on the end, the two ends both have spigots, and the middles don't. But I felt like he had incredible timing, because whenever either one of us invariably, I would try and shower early, I would try and shower late. Invariably, if I got in the shower, the water went on, and the water pressure is such that you can't have a hose going and be doing the dishes, or in the apartment, it just goes to a trickle. So, we're not on his good side for that, I'm quite sure. But it wasn't personal. I just don't understand why you want... First of all, the management company doesn't want us to water. They're hoping all the grass will die. They want zero-scape. For billing purposes, that's the cheapest option. And from my perspective, that's the most natural option for here. Zero-scape is what you should have in the desert, and I have never supported having grass in the middle of the desert. And that's my story of insomnia and why I can't do some things at night that you probably didn't want to know. I did not finish any books. I started The Unseen World, and I am that far. According to Goodreads, I am 66% into this book. And then I read another 3 chapters in Planetwalker. I'm getting ready to start chapter 7, and so that's how far I am there. According to Goodreads, I am... On Planetwalker, I am 31% of the way done. I plan on being done with Planetwalker on Thursday. I'm going to read 3 or 4 chapters a day until it's done. I am very much enjoying this, much more than I enjoyed the other book that I read that was kind of the same sort of thing. And I still haven't looked up the title. I'll have it for you by Thursday. I have mixed feelings about The Unseen World. It's an interesting story, but I feel like it's kind of dragging on. I feel like maybe it's twice as long as it needs to be. And things just keep getting repeated, and I don't need to be reminded that the father's absent-minded and that he single-mindedly, has pursued certain activities, and that he's not very good at socializing. You're beating us over the head with several conflicts. I feel like this book could be accomplished more quickly than it is, but it's still an interesting story. I'm not sure how much I like it, but it's still worth reading. I just don't know that it needs to be this long. So, after I finish The Unseen World, which I'm hoping to finish tonight, I only have 150-ish pages to go. I plan on reading The Lock by Steve Alton. That's the longest book that I had. And so far, I'm just trying to pick these in order of length to get through as many of them as I can. And then I will probably do, it looks like maybe Traveler's Rest is the next longest one after that. So those are the next two that I will pick up. I'm hoping to finish Unseen World tonight, start The Lock, read 3 or 4 more chapters in Planetwalker, and then we'll see from there. I will be back on tomorrow with another vlog wherein I will not talk about my neighbor for 12 minutes. Sorry. Perhaps I just needed to vent because my son doesn't care. He only cares that his activities are being curtailed. But I wouldn't let him play loud games at 3 in the morning, even if we lived in a house all by ourselves. Because that's rude, and you should sleep in normal hours, even though I cannot. I will see you guys tomorrow. Happy whatever time of day it is for you while you are watching this. If you watched my entire neighbor rant, I'm so sorry. Bye.